And it was similar to my own show. It's a bunch of guests at the same time. So I did the first show. I thought it went well. And but then I got a call from the head honcho at the radio station, wanting to take me out for lunch to discuss that show and maybe give me some advice.
Graham Norton just dropped some shocking truths about 7 guests from his show's golden era. Yeah, the ones who made his job a total nightmare. For years, people kept asking who his worst guest was, but he always dodged the question because he didn't want to stir up drama. Well, now the wait's over. He's finally spilling the tea. Norton, who's sat across from hundreds of A-list celebs on his legendary talk show, is revealing which big names were a real pain to work with. His show became iconic for mixing sharp humor, cozy chats, and those wild, shareable moments that go viral. Graham has this rare talent. He can make even the most uptight celeb loosen up and be themselves, and that's exactly why fans around the world can't get enough of him. Viewers tune in not just for laughs, but for those jaw-dropping stories and off-script surprises that make his show feel so alive. But not every guest was a dream to host. Some stars walked in with an attitude, cold as ice, and totally uninterested in being there. What should have been a fun night sometimes turned into tense, awkward chaos. Over the years, Graham has dropped a few hints about which guests tested his patience, and every now and then, he's been bold enough to admit who made things downright difficult. Now, at 62, he's done holding back. He's ready to tell it like it is, naming the 6 stars who made him regret booking them and explaining exactly why those interviews were pure agony. And trust me, some of his reasons will leave you shocked. Graham William Walker, better known as Graham Norton, was born on April 4, 1963, in a Dublin neighborhood called Clondalkin. He later grew up in Bandon, County Cork, where his dad, Billy Walker, worked selling products for Guinness, while his mom, Rhoda, taught school. Even as a kid, Graham stood out. He was sharp, hilarious, and always curious, a natural-born entertainer who couldn't resist making people laugh. At Bandon Grammar School, teachers and classmates started to notice his spark for storytelling and performing. Though he could be quiet at times, he lit up any room once he got people laughing. After school, he studied English and French at University College Cork, but let's be real, his heart wasn't in the books. His mind was on the stage. Chasing that dream, Graham made a gutsy move. He dropped out of university before finishing his degree and packed up for London to chase fame in the entertainment world. Life there wasn't easy. He hustled through odd jobs, battled money troubles, and kept pushing himself through drama training at the Central School of Speech and Drama. But that struggle only sharpened his edge, setting the stage for the superstar talk show host we all know today. During his early grind in London, he decided to switch things up, ditching his birth name and becoming Graham Norton, the name that would soon be known everywhere. Even though life was rough at first, his fierce determination and natural charm eventually flipped the script. What began as a struggling comedian's hustle turned into one of the most iconic glow-ups in British entertainment history. The rise of a man who'd go on to rule TV as one of the most loved talk show hosts ever. After finishing his training, Graham hit the local comedy circuit, performing in tiny clubs and quirky theaters all across London. Those years were wild, a mix of flops, laughs, and hard lessons. But every mistake sharpened his edge. He built a comedy style that blended clever punchlines, self-deprecating humor, and genuine warmth, a combo that would soon define his entire career. Then came the big break. In the early 1990s, his sharp wit started catching people's attention, and by 1996, everything changed overnight. He filled in as a temporary host on Channel 5's Jack Doherty show, and boom, people were hooked. His lightning-fast humor, cheeky grin, and smooth charisma had both producers and audiences begging for more. Just 2 years later, in 1998, So Graham Norton premiered on Channel 4, and it was an instant hit. This wasn't your average talk show. It was bold, outrageous, and totally unpredictable. Celebrities came to chat, but they never knew what kind of hilarious chaos they'd get pulled into. From crazy audience segments to hilarious interviews, Graham made sure every moment popped with energy. His playful charm and quick wit didn't just win over viewers, it won him multiple BAFTA awards. The follow-up, V. Graham Norton, took things to the next level, cementing his place as one of TV's most entertaining and spontaneous hosts. He had this magical skill, turning awkward silences into comedy gold and getting celebs to spill stories they'd never tell anywhere else. Then, in 2007, the BBC came knocking with an offer that changed everything. They gave him his own primetime show, The Graham Norton Show. It first aired on BBC Two, then quickly moved to BBC One, becoming a worldwide phenomenon. Unlike other stiff, one-on-one talk shows, Graham threw all his guests onto the same couch, creating spontaneous chaos, wild laughter, and unforgettable conversations. With his chill vibe and effortless hosting, the show produced viral moments that had everyone talking. And he didn't stop there. Graham went on to host massive events like the Eurovision Song Contest, BBC's New Year's Eve specials, and even his own radio show on Virgin Radio. No matter the stage, one thing stayed the same: his magnetic mix of charm, wit, and pure fun that keeps everyone coming back for more. Graham Norton's entire career is living proof that staying real, never giving up, and knowing how to use humor at the right moment can turn a struggling dreamer into a global icon. But even someone as charming as Graham has his limits, and now he's finally spilling which 5 guests drove him absolutely crazy on his own show. Number 1. Mickey Rourke. When Rourke showed up on the Graham Norton show, it was a total vibe killer. Usually Graham's couch is electric, stars laughing, trading jokes, and vibing off each other, but not that night. From the moment Mickey sat down, it was clear he wanted no part of it. His answers were short, his tone was flat, and he barely looked at anyone. It was like pulling teeth just to get a full sentence out of him. Even Graham, who's a master at saving awkward moments with humor, couldn't crack him. Every time Rourke mumbled something unclear, Graham had to ask 2 or 3 follow-up questions, trying to keep the conversation alive. But it only made things more tense. The air in the studio felt heavy, and those long silences, brutal. It wasn't just what Rourke said, it was how he acted. He slouched back in his seat, avoided eye contact, and gave off the vibe that he'd rather be anywhere else. The usual spark of the show vanished. Graham had to carry the entire segment by himself, talking non-stop just to fill the uncomfortable gaps. What should have been a lively and funny chat turned into one of the most awkward interviews in the show's history. The audience could feel the tension, and even Graham later admitted it was one of his toughest interviews ever. Number 2, Mark Wahlberg. Now this one is legendary for all the wrong reasons. Mark's 2013 appearance on the Graham Norton show is still remembered as one of the most chaotic moments ever broadcast. Fans tuned in expecting his usual confident charm, but what they got was absolute mayhem. Unlike Rourke, Wahlberg wasn't distant or bored. Nope, his problem was the opposite. He was way too hyped up, and clearly not sober. From the moment he joined Graham and Sarah Silverman on the red couch, it was obvious he'd had a little too much to drink. His energy was off the charts, interrupting everyone, blurting random jokes, and throwing the whole show off balance. What started as lighthearted fun quickly spiraled into confusion. Wahlberg's constant interruptions left Graham trying to steer the chaos while Sarah Silverman just looked stunned. And then came the moment that made headlines. Mark suddenly climbed onto Graham's lap, slung his arm around the host, and started making a string of messy, slurred jokes. The crowd didn't know whether to laugh or cringe. Graham, ever the professional, tried to keep things smooth, but his awkward smile said it all. He was dying inside trying to hold it together. Even Sarah, known for her fearless comedy, seemed thrown off by how out of control the scene had become. After the show, Graham admitted the whole thing was rough, saying he was just out of it. I mean, really out of it. Viewers at home were split. Some called it so bad, it's entertaining, while others couldn't handle the second-hand embarrassment. Either way, that night went down in talk show history, not for the laughs, but for the total train wreck that unfolded live on TV. For a show built on wild laughs and quick-witted fun, that Mark Wahlberg moment went way past comedy. It hit straight into pure awkward territory. Wahlberg later brushed it off, laughing and admitting he'd had a few drinks before filming and maybe enjoyed himself a bit too much. Still, that night became unforgettable, a wild reminder that even the most charming stars can throw the whole studio off balance, leaving Graham scrambling to keep control. Number 3, Robert De Niro. Now, this one was a whole different kind of tough. Robert De Niro, Hollywood legend, Oscar winner, and one of the greatest actors alive, is also known for being one of the hardest people to interview. And when he showed up on the Graham Norton show, that reputation proved absolutely true. From the second he sat on that famous red couch, the vibe was icy. No bad behavior, no drama, just a total wall of calm. Unlike other guests who come ready to laugh and share stories, De Niro's energy was locked down. His answers were short, measured, and cautious, giving Graham almost nothing to work with. Norton, famous for getting even shy guests to open up, had to work overtime just to keep the chat flowing. De Niro would nod here, give a small smile there, maybe drop a few carefully chosen words, and that was it. The show's usual fast-paced energy slowed to a crawl, and Graham could feel it. Trying to break through, Graham threw in playful jokes, relaxed questions, even a few cheeky comments. But De Niro stayed calm, collected, and totally unreadable. At one point, the contrast got so obvious that Graham joked, "This is hard work, Robert," a moment that perfectly captured how much effort it took just to keep the vibe alive. For a host known for handling every kind of celebrity personality, this interview was a true test of patience and timing. Still, even though it lacked laughs, the audience couldn't look away. It was fascinating, like watching a master actor quietly reveal his real, guarded side for once. By the end, the whole episode had a strange power to it. It wasn't about comedy or chaos. It was about watching a legend just be himself, with no performance, no act. It gave fans a rare glimpse of De Niro's thoughtful, reserved nature, a calm moment that somehow stayed with people long after the cameras stopped rolling. Number 4. Kevin Costner. Now, Kevin's visit didn't explode with scandal or disaster. It was awkward in a totally different way. The Graham Norton show thrives on fast banter, cheeky teasing, and contagious energy, but Costner's vibe was the complete opposite. He wasn't rude or cold, just extremely composed, almost too calm for a show that runs on big laughs. Throughout the interview, Graham tried tossing out his usual clever jokes and playful remarks, but Costner's reactions stayed flat and serious, like he didn't quite catch the humor. That quick rhythm fans love, the lively back and forth that makes the red couch so iconic, just disappeared. The result wasn't chaos or drama, but a weird, heavy silence between jokes that left everyone slightly uneasy. The audience could sense the tension, and Graham had to double down, working extra hard to keep things moving. It was a reminder that not every Hollywood star fits into the whirlwind energy of the Graham Norton show. It quickly became clear that while Kevin Costner's cool, movie star charm shines bright on the big screen, the wild pace and cheeky humor of the Graham Norton show just weren't his comfort zone. Graham has often pointed out that not every celebrity gets the show's energy. Its quick rhythm, the teasing, the chaos, and that's totally fine. But as he once said, some people just aren't made for this format. They don't get it, and that's fine, but it can make for a very long show. That quote fits the Costner interview perfectly. Costner's strong presence and quiet confidence were undeniable, but on Graham's buzzing stage, they created a strange kind of tension, an awkward dance between serious and silly. It wasn't explosive or dramatic, just oddly offbeat, leaving everyone watching in that mix of fascination and secondhand cringe. Number 5. Harvey Weinstein. Before his shocking downfall and everything that later came to light, Weinstein actually appeared on The Graham Norton Show, an episode that Norton probably wishes never happened. At that time, Weinstein was still one of the most powerful figures in Hollywood, a producer whose name alone carried serious weight. But even then, there were whispers behind the scenes, rumors of controlling, dominating behavior that made people uneasy. And the moment he walked onto the set, the whole energy shifted. The atmosphere turned heavy, uncomfortable. Long before the truth about him became public, Graham seemed to sense something was off. Weinstein kept interrupting, not just Graham, but the other guests too, constantly dragging the spotlight back to himself and bragging about his own accomplishments. His arrogance was impossible to ignore, and it instantly killed the fun, easy vibe that usually defines Graham's show. Norton, always the professional, tried his best to steer the conversation and keep things flowing, but it was clear he was struggling to stay in control. You could almost see him forcing a smile while trying to rescue the mood. Years later, when the truth about Weinstein's misconduct came out and shook Hollywood to its core, Graham looked back at that interview with a totally new understanding. He admitted, "I had no idea at the time, but looking back, it all starts to make sense." That one episode now feels chilling in hindsight. A brief glimpse of how his polished public image masks something much darker. It's a moment Graham and his audience will never forget. Number 6. Daryl Hannah. Now this one wasn't about chaos or ego, it was about silence. Over the years, Graham has chatted with hundreds of celebrities, but when he's asked who his most difficult guest ever was, one name always comes up: Daryl Hannah. Unlike the loud or demanding guests who took over the couch, Daryl's challenge was the exact opposite. She just wouldn't engage. Graham later described the interview as one of the most painful of his career, and anyone who's seen it totally understands why. Her answers were painfully short, sometimes just a single word, and the long, awkward silences in between made the whole segment feel endless. It wasn't rude exactly, it just felt like she didn't want to be there. Graham did everything he could, cracking jokes, shifting topics, even trying his most charming tricks, but nothing worked. The energy in the room dropped so low that viewers could almost feel the tension through the screen. Later, Graham admitted that the entire interview felt like she had been forced onto the show against her will. For a host who thrives on quick wit, laughter, and natural connection, that kind of situation is pure torture. It's no wonder that, years later, Daryl Hannah still stands out in his memory as one of the toughest guests to ever grace that famous red couch. Unlike other quiet guests who at least try to engage, Daryl Hannah seemed totally checked out, like she wanted to vanish right off the red couch. Her total disconnection made the whole thing painfully awkward. No matter how hard Graham tried, throwing jokes, switching topics, or flashing that famous grin, nothing worked. She gave almost nothing back. What should have been a lively, feel-good segment turned into a tense struggle that had both Graham and the audience wishing for it to end. For Graham, that interview became more than just a rough night. It was a real lesson in how hard live hosting can get when a guest simply refuses to play along. But what makes Graham Norton's confessions about these tough guests so fascinating isn't just the juicy celebrity gossip. It's what they reveal about his craft as a host. Over decades in the spotlight, Graham has mastered the art of reading a room, shifting gears, adjusting tone, and rescuing even the most awkward moments like it's nothing. Yet these 6 guests truly tested his limits, showing that even a master of charm has boundaries. Not every celebrity is built for a talk show. Some stars, brilliant on film, struggle the moment the script disappears. On screen, they transform into captivating characters, but on a couch, under bright lights, without lines to hide behind, they freeze up. Others, like Mark Wahlberg, go the opposite direction, bringing too much energy, turning things into chaos instead of conversation. And then, there are guests like Daryl Hannah, who seem to hate the very idea of promotional interviews, treating them like a chore instead of a chance to connect. What makes Graham stand out, though, is how he refuses to let those awkward moments ruin the show. For every painful Daryl Hannah interview, there are dozens of unforgettable electric moments where the chemistry between guests turns pure conversation into TV gold. His signature format, stacking multiple stars on one couch, often saves him. When one guest goes quiet or offbeat, another jumps in, filling the silence, cracking jokes, or flipping the mood back to fun. And here's what's genius. Graham doesn't try to hide awkwardness when it hits. He owns it. A sly glance to the camera, a self-aware joke, or a playful comment like, "Well, this is going great," instantly resets the energy and gets the audience laughing with him instead of at the situation. That honesty is what makes him so loved. He doesn't fake perfection. He gives realness every time. After hearing about his most difficult guests, it's important to remember why Graham Norton still reigns as one of the best in the business. While other talk shows fade or struggle to stay fresh, the Graham Norton Show keeps thriving, and for good reason. It's not stiff, not overly polished. It's a full-on party vibe. Unlike many American talk shows that stick to one-on-one interviews and scripted segments, Graham throws everyone together on the same couch with a drink, or 2, in hand. That relaxed atmosphere is his secret weapon. It loosens everyone up, sparks real conversation, and lets celebs show sides of themselves fans never get to see. Graham Norton's real genius lies in how he walks that fine line between cheeky and kind. He knows exactly how to tease his guests just enough to make things spicy, but never crosses into being mean. He'll throw a bold question when it fits, but always with that warm grin that keeps it light and fun. His laugh is contagious, his curiosity feels totally genuine, and his natural warmth makes even the most guarded stars loosen up and share more than they planned. What makes the Graham Norton Show so addictive is how it balances control and chaos. Sure, Graham's steering the ship, but when something funny or unexpected happens, he lets it roll. That's the magic. He knows when to sit back and let the moment breathe. Some of the most viral moments from the show have come from those unplanned interactions, like 2 celebrities meeting for the first time on that famous red couch and instantly vibing, or hilariously clashing. These tough guest encounters, they've turned into life lessons, not just for Graham, but for anyone watching. They remind us that fame doesn't automatically mean someone's easy to talk to. Just because a person shines on screen doesn't mean they'll sparkle in a casual chat. Some stars are masters of their craft, but freeze when they have to talk about it. Others might be naturally charismatic in movies, but totally lose that spark in real-life conversations. And honestly, there's something deeply human about watching even a pro like Graham struggle to connect. It's comforting in a way. It reminds us that behind all the glitz, these are still just people trying to have a simple conversation. Sometimes it flows, sometimes it totally doesn't. The fact that Graham's finally ready to name names after years of politely dodging the worst guest question says a lot. It shows how comfortable he's become in his success. He doesn't need to play it safe anymore. He's earned his place at the top, and now he can be honest without worrying about burning bridges or losing gigs. And let's be real, there's probably a quiet warning hidden in there too. If you come on my show, come ready to chat, or you might just end up on the list. Even with those awkward moments, The Graham Norton Show remains must-watch TV for millions around the world. Every week, a new lineup of guests hits that couch, bringing wild stories, fresh chemistry, and that unpredictable spark that keeps fans hooked. Graham, now 62, hasn't lost a single ounce of his magic. He's still quick, witty, and sharp as ever. You can tell he loves what he does, and that joy radiates through every episode, even when he's dealing with a guest who's clearly not feeling it. He's built more than just a talk show. He's built a whole brand, a vibe, and a legacy that's gonna outlive the red couch itself. His format just works, a mix of humor, honesty, and heart that makes people feel like they're part of the conversation. And here's the fun twist. Those awkward interviews we've talked about, they've become part of the show's legend. Fans still laugh about Mark Wahlberg's wild, out-of-control night, still debate what was really going through Mickey Rourke's head, and still wonder what could have made Daryl Hannah relax on that couch. These uncomfortable moments, in their weird way, are just as iconic as the most hilarious or heartwarming ones. In the end, Graham Norton's rise, from a broke young dreamer in London to one of TV's most beloved and respected hosts, is more than just a success story. It's proof that real talent, consistency, and staying true to yourself can turn even the toughest situations into something unforgettable. Graham Norton's honesty about his toughest guests doesn't take away from his success. It actually makes it even more impressive. The fact that, after thousands of interviews, he can count his truly difficult experiences, on one hand says everything about his talent, patience, and class. Those 6 names, Mickey Rourke, Mark Wahlberg, Robert De Niro, Kevin Costner, Harvey Weinstein, and Daryl Hannah, represent rare exceptions in a career filled with unforgettable moments and effortless charm. They're the nights when everything that usually works just didn't. When wit, warmth, and Graham's trademark charm couldn't quite save the vibe. Even a host as legendary as Norton has had those moments when his skills met their match. And that's what makes his journey so real. But here's the difference. He never lets those awkward nights define him. He laughs it off, learns from it, and keeps moving forward stronger than before. That resilience, mixed with his humor and kindness, is exactly why fans keep tuning in year after year. So, what do you think about Graham Norton's most difficult guests? Have you ever watched any of those famously uncomfortable interviews? Which one do you think would have been the hardest to handle if you were in his seat? Drop your thoughts down in the comments. We want to hear from you. Tell us your favorite Graham Norton moments, the hilarious ones, the awkward ones, or the ones that just made you say, "Wow, that really happened." If you loved getting this inside look at one of TV's most iconic shows, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on the latest celebrity stories and entertainment breakdowns. We've got tons more fascinating behind-the-scenes moments, drama deep dives, and legendary talk show highlights coming your way. Whether you've been watching The Graham Norton Show for years, or you're just discovering it now, there's always something new to enjoy about how Graham completely redefined the talk show game. From the wild highs to the cringeworthy lows, from spontaneous laughter to those heavy silences that make everyone hold their breath, it's all part of what makes his show so addictive and unforgettable. The beauty of The Graham Norton Show is that even the weird or uncomfortable interviews become part of its legacy. Fans still laugh about Mark Wahlberg's chaotic energy, still wonder what was up with Mickey Rourke's moody silence, and still debate what could have made Daryl Hannah feel more at ease. Every imperfect moment, every strange pause, it all adds to the magic and makes the show feel alive. So next time you're watching a perfectly smooth celebrity interview, take a second to appreciate just how much skill, instinct, and quick thinking goes into making it look that effortless. Because, as Graham Norton has proven time and time again, it's not always easy. But that's exactly what makes the great moments shine even brighter. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next video with more shocking celebrity stories, untold talk show secrets, and behind-the-scenes drama you won't believe. See you next time.